So in 1788, Austria goes to war with the Ottoman Empire. Should be a normal war, right? Two armies, a battlefield, somebody wins, somebody loses. Except the Austrians never actually fight the Ottomans. Not once. Instead, in one single night, the Austrian army turns on itself. And by sunrise, it had wiped out somewhere near 10,000 of its own men. 10,000! And the Turks aren't even there yet. And depending on who you ask, this might be the most humiliating military disaster in European history. Not because they lost, because there was no one to lose to yet. Picture the Austrian army in 1788. Huge. Like 70, maybe 100,000 men. Huge. And they're marching because Emperor Joseph II decided to team up with his buddy Catherine the Great. Yes, that Catherine the Great. And go pick a fight with the Ottomans together. Two big empires, one shared enemy, should be a simple alliance. And this isn't some random beef either. Austria and the Ottomans have been throwing hands on and off for like 300 years at this point. Sieges, border wars, the whole deal. Vienna itself almost fell to the Ottoman army back in 1683. So this isn't two strangers stumbling into a fight. This is a rematch nobody asked for between two empires that hated each other for generations. Except the Austrian Empire at this point stretches over basically half of Europe. And pulling an army together from all that means you're not fielding one army. You're fielding 12 armies stapled together. Austrians, Hungarians, Serbians, Romanians, Croatians, guys who don't share a word of each other's languages. All marching under one flag towards the Ottoman border. What could possibly go wrong? A bunch of armed men communicating in hand signals and facial expressions. Somewhere back in Vienna, some generals probably looking at the roster going, they'll figure it out. They did not figure it out. Ever tried a group project with people who don't speak your language? Now hand everyone a rifle and put them in war. You think command would have fixed that before shipping everybody off? A translator? A shared drill vocabulary? Something? Nope. They just marched everybody towards the border and hoped for the best. So somewhere out ahead of the main force, a scouting party of hussars, the elite Hungarian cavalry unit, guys who are supposed to be sharp, disciplined, tip of the spear, crosses the Tamise River near a little town named Karansebes. Nice, quiet. Nothing happened yet. That's about to change, and not because of the Ottomans. Bum bum bum. The hussars run into some Roma merchants on the road, and the merchants are selling schnapps, cheap alcohol. Tired soldiers who've been riding around, speaking in hand signals for days. You know exactly where this goes. The hussars started buying it up. A lot of it. Elite cavalry unit, sure, but a bunch of guys who found good stuff and they aren't in the sharing mood, if you get what I'm saying. Like a guy who wins the office fantasy pool and suddenly acts like he doesn't know anyone. Then the infantry catches up. And the infantry wants in. Come on, man, just a little. A little? This is costing me actual money? We've been marching with you. Yeah, but I found a guy selling it. Go find your own. Not my problem you didn't stock up. We're gonna remember this. Sure, remember it when you're sober tomorrow. Those greedy fellas. Boys will be boys. An argument breaks out, then a shoving match. Imagine a bar fight, but on steroids. Until somebody, nobody's ever fully sure who, fires a shot. Not at the enemy, at another Austrian soldier. Great start. Words start flying around camp that shots have been fired, which in a war zone, at night, is exactly the kind of information that gets less accurate the faster it spreads. Here's where it gets stupid. In the middle of the scuffle, somebody yells, "Halt! Halt!" You know, trying to get people to calm down. Classic de-escalation. It didn't work. See, remember, this one army is actually 12 armies who barely speak a language between them. So instead of halt, half the camp hears Tursi. That translates to Turks in a lot of their languages. At night, half drunk, already primed to assume the worst because nobody's bothered translating anything for anybody ever the whole war. And after the word ripping through the camp is the Ottomans are here, right now, tonight, nobody checks. Nobody sends a guy 50 feet ahead to go, hey, let's look first. Somebody probably should have been that guy. Nobody was. Imagine a fire alarm going off in a building with no exit signs, where nobody speaks the same language and everyone's had 6 beers. That's the camp right now. Complete chaos. No communication, everybody just decides, yup, we're under attack, and they start acting like it. Dun dun dun. Real quick, if your feed's basically 90% AI generated history slop with the same old robot voice narrating over stock footage, hitting subscribe actually does something. It tells the algorithm to put more actual human-made stuff in front of more actual humans, which is the whole mission over here. Anyways, back to the Austrians currently shooting each other in a field. Now you've got thousands of terrified, drunk soldiers in pitch black darkness, positive the enemy is standing right next to them. Cavalry stampedes through the camp, officers are screaming orders, nobody can hear in all the chaos. You can picture some poor commander going, fall back, as it just gets swallowed whole. And think about what the darkness actually means. No streetlights, no flashlights, no flares. It's 1788. The only light out there is muzzle flashing. Which means every time somebody fires, you get half a second of seeing shapes, and every shape looks like an enemy. So you fire back, and now you're the muzzle flash everybody just saw. Someone rolls up artillery and just starts firing into the dark at anything that moves. Somewhere in the smoke, you've got one soldier grabbing another by the collar and going, where are they? Where are they shooting from? And the other guy's just as lost going, I don't know, I thought you guys knew. Nobody in this entire army knows where the enemy is because there isn't one. And here's the part that makes it spiral instead of fizzing out. Every unit that gets fired on now has proof. From their side, they just got shot by an unseen enemy in the dark, which confirms everything they heard. So they return fire, which gives another unit their proof. The rumor stops being a rumor when somebody acts on it, because now there's actual bullets coming from other directions. Whole regiments start retreating from positions nobody was attacking. Some units break and run, which makes the units watching them assume the line is collapsed, so they run too. The panic feeds itself. And anything that moves is just more Austrians. The enemy, as it turns out, is everyone. No exits, no plans, just guns. This goes on for hours. Actual hours. One army methodically taking itself apart in the dark, every unit convinced the guy shooting them are the invaders. This is a full-fledged battle scene. Someone accidentally left friendly fire on, Call of Duty hard mode, no name tags and all. By sunrise, historians' high-end estimates put the casualties around 10,000. 10,000 men from a battle that had no enemies. 2 days later, the actual Ottoman army showed up to Karansebes, fully expecting to fight. Rolling in probably thinking, alright, here we go. Big battle. This is what we trained for, fellas. There's nothing left to fight. No defense, no resistance, just a town sitting there next to an army that had just gutted itself overnight. So the Ottomans just walk in and take it. Anticlimactic doesn't even begin to describe it. Complete non-event. The Austrians didn't lose this one to the Ottomans. They lost it to a rumor, a language barrier, and some cheap schnapps. And look, before you go thinking this is some one-off fluke, turns out armies accidentally fighting themselves is like a whole genre of history. It's not common, but it's happened more than once, which honestly makes it worse. There's cases from actual World War II units in the fog or in the dark that opened fire on their own side thinking they'd ran into the enemy. Same basic ingredients every time. Darkness, confusion, exhaustion, bad communication. Somebody panics and suddenly your army is the threat. Karansebes just happens to be one of the most ridiculous versions of it. Because normally these incidents are a handful of guys, a bad night, and maybe one unit shooting at another unit for, 10 minutes before somebody figures it out. Karansebes is an entire army, an entire night, and 10,000 casualties. Over a rumor and some cheap booze. Same mistake, just turned up to 11. Now, a quick gut check. Because this story's a little too perfect, right? A rumor, a mishearing, 10,000 dead, and the enemy just strolls in 2 days later. That's suspiciously clean for a story about something that happened over 200 years ago. On one side, you've got historians who say, yeah, basically this happened as described. A mistranslated word, a drunken panic, a real bloodbath. And it's just an unusually well-documented case of friendly fire. Disaster spiraling out of control. On the other side, you've got historians who look at the sourcing and go, hang on. A lot of this reads like campfire exaggeration that calcified into fact over 2 centuries of retellings, and the real number was probably a few hundred, not 10,000. Neither side's fully proven, so really you gotta pick which version you like better. which is the worst or the best thing about history, depending on how you look at it. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. The battle's real, the chaos is real. Karansebes fell without a fight, and that part's not in dispute. Just take the exact numbers with a grain of salt. History does that sometimes. The story gets better in retelling, and 200 years later, nobody's around to correct it. So what happened after? Joseph II was actually there for parts of this mess, and by most accounts, it wrecked him. He was already sick going into this campaign, and watching his own army destroy itself apparently didn't help. He died less than 2 years later, and a lot of historians point to this campaign as the beginning of the end for him. As for anyone getting blamed, not really. Nobody wanted to admit 10,000 men, give or take, died because of a rumor and some schnapps, so it got quietly filed as a difficult campaign and left at that. In the town, Karansebes just kinda continues to exist like nothing happened. No monument, no plaque calling it the night the army fought itself. It's mostly just known today because historians and internet history nerds, like us, keep bringing it up 200 plus years later. Which is kind of the perfect ending, honestly. An army destroyed itself over booze and a bad translation. The enemy takes the town for free, and nobody gets properly blamed for it. Just a really bad night that everybody agreed to stop talking about. So that's that, Karansebes, an entire army that talked itself into war with nobody and somehow still managed to lose. And honestly, that's not even the most unhinged thing a government's done out of pure paranoia. Because during the Cold War, the US actually put together a real proposal to launch a nuclear missile at the moon. No, this is legit. Just to detonate it there? In plain view, for everybody on Earth to see it? And the person who ended up quietly working on the science behind it? A young astrophysicist who'd go on to become one of the most famous scientists in the world. I go through exactly why the US wanted to nuke the moon and how far the plan actually got and why it never happened in the next video. Go watch it.